Welcome back, scholars. All right, we are returning to social studies after coming back from science. And we are going to be talking about America after our independence from Great Britain. Okay, so at this time, because America had just become independent, we had no national government. Okay. So America had no national government. Right now they were really just the 13 states. So the 13 colonies became the 13 states. There was no national government, though. I apologize. Penelope has been barking in the background, and I can't get her to hush. No national government after their independence, after our independence from Britain. And Teddy feels like he needs to join in too now. So the big cheeses, the big leaders, they knew that they wanted our country to act like a whole nation, to not just be all these little separate states. They knew that the nation would be stronger if the states worked together. Okay, so they knew that the nation would be stronger if the states could come together under one national government. So they got together. They were like, okay, we need to come up with something. So in 1777, they had their light bulb moment. Let me do my little light bulb here. Light bulb. I said, well, we need to come up with a plan where we will have some kind of national government. 1777, they did just that. Okay, they wrote the Articles of Confederation. Okay, this became our country's first constitution. And what is a constitution? Well, a constitution is a written plan for a government. And there we have the Articles of Constitution, the Articles of Confederation. Now, our country, remember, had just come out of a war with Britain. So they were kind of leery about having a big, strong national government. So they decided, okay, well, we're going to have a weak national government. We don't want the same thing to happen again. We don't want to have a tyrant like King George ruling over us. Okay, they did not want there to be a leader like King George again. So they were like, okay, well, we don't want a tyrant, so we're going to have a weak national government. They figured that was going to work. That was going to work for them. Okay, so they definitely knew they wanted to keep the states independent, but working together, because that was going to work. And the Articles of Confederation, it was a pretty decent first constitution for us. So it said that there was one Congress who was going to who was going to like dictate, set laws. They were going to declare war and peace. They were going to print money. They were going to organize territories, and they were going to deal with the foreign countries. Okay, so those are the things that Congress did in the One House Congress. Now, the Articles of Confederation was not perfect. There were many weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. And I am going to put Articles of Confederation, AOC, for my Articles of Confederation. Let's switch my page up here. Okay, so some of the weaknesses that the Articles of Confederation had, well, first off, there was no strong government. There was no leader. There was no set leader. So, it had no strong government like they wanted. But that meant that there was no leader either, because they were afraid that the leader would get too much power. Well, you can imagine, I know we talked about the other day how government can be important, because if you don't have a leader, if you don't have someone who kind of takes charge and directs, and I know maybe in like breakout rooms or in other things you've noticed, if there's not someone who steps up to kind of lead the group, nothing really gets done effectively, right? So with no set leader, things were just not getting done. Now, we had no national army at this time. So you can imagine that made people a little bit on edge, because if a big country like Britain would decide to attack again, there was really nothing set. There was no set government or army to help defend the country. So the whole no national army. Okay. They couldn't raise an army. There were no taxes, which at first, you think, woohoo, no taxes. But it takes money to run a government. So with no taxes, no money being collected, nothing really got done. You can see kind of all of these things kind of built up. It takes money to run. Another thing was that the Congress that they elected couldn't enforce the laws. So they might say, okay, you can't break into someone else's house, but they couldn't enforce that. So unless the states chose to enforce the laws, they weren't put in place. Okay, so Congress couldn't force states to obey the laws. Another thing, there were no courts either. So, I mean, that was a problem. If somebody did get in trouble, there were really no courts to try them and figure out a fair sentence. So, no courts. And Congress couldn't make trade laws, which was a big deal because trade was a way that the country and many people made their money. So by not making any trade laws, they really couldn't get a lot of money in. Now, the leaders at this time found out pretty quickly that this was not effective and they needed to do something else. Because they were like, whoa, this sounded really good until we put it down on paper and started trying to do it. It's not so good, though. It's not working out so well for us. We're having some problems. The Constitutional Congress was about to meet for change. Constitutional. And if you need to go on the next page, I know it. Squeeze this in here. And we're going to talk about that change next. Big changes coming in the birth of our country. Okay. If you would like more information on this, if you log into your Gallopade and you go to, you should just be able to go in. Your teacher should have assigned for you 7.01, which is Articles of Confederation. If you would like more information on the Articles of Confederation, when you are feeling good and ready, and let me see if I can stretch my screen out a little bit here. I don't know if it's going to let me or not. It doesn't look like it's going to let me, but that's okay. We just need to see this part. I'm going to go to Canvas, and I'm going to go to Social Studies. And when you are ready, sometime today, you're going to go to 3.20 Articles. Uh-oh, mine didn't come up pretty. But 3.20 Articles of Confederation. There we go. This one right here. And complete the little quizzy. And that is all. See you next time.